This War of Mine is a 2D survival stealth sim released late in 2014. In it, you play as a group of civilians trying to survive in the midst of a war. The overall goal for each scenario is simple: stay alive until the war ends. The game is split into two sequences, day and night. During the day, you maintain the well-being of your survivors while building up your shelter, and at night, you scavenge for supplies. Each of your survivors has 4 critical stats to monitor: hunger, health, energy, and happiness. Your job is to keep all of these stats at healthy levels by feeding your character, giving him bandages or medicine when necessary, ensuring that he gets enough sleep, and seeing that he doesn't see or do enough horrific things to get depressed and kill himself. Sounds simple, but the difficulty gets really brutal really fast. Simply acquiring the food necessary to feed a group of 3 or 4 survivors is a tremendous challenge because the resources are very scarce and they get used up quickly. And you'll need to do more than just live day to day. You'll need to seriously plan ahead and construct shelter improvements such as a heater to ward off illnesses, a stove to increase cooking efficiency, defenses against increasingly aggressive nighttime bandits. The list goes on and on. This all comes together remarkably well. You'll almost never find yourself with a serious surplus of food or medicine, and it's inevitable that you'll have to make some tough judgment calls about what to build, what to trade, and even who gets to sleep each night. Speaking of the night, this is when the scavenging and stealth gameplay come in, and while they are a tad simplistic, they still really shine. You'll be scavenging in abandoned buildings laden with construction materials, trading at brothels and city squares, and, when necessary, infiltrating heavily armed strongholds. It's only through these nighttime expeditions that you can acquire what you'll need to stay alive, and the moment-to-moment challenge of the night is just as potent as the long-term calculating challenge of the day. Inventory space is limited, so you'll have to make many tough choices about what to carry. Maybe you'll have to decide between gathering more materials to build a heater before winter comes and everyone freezes to death, and getting enough food to ensure that everybody eats. This game is full of no-win scenarios, and both risk and sacrifice will be necessary. And even when you think you've got things figured out, things out of your control can and will go wrong. Maybe that trading area you've been relying on is now off limits because of the fighting or the weather. Maybe you were raided at an inopportune time and all of your food was stolen. And on top of all that, there's the stealth. Oh geez, look, I haven't been made this tense by a stealth game since Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets on the PS2. And yes, I'm aware that's a bizarre apples to oranges kind of reference, but what do you want? I was an 8-year-old wussbag and the sound design traumatized me.
What was that? Locomotive mortis!
This War of Mine stealth drove fear into my heart for a much better reason. Death is permanent and comes swiftly at the slightest mistake. Take away the checkpoints and the autosaves, and suddenly there's a serious need to maintain stealth and run like hell if it goes wrong. This is amplified by the clunky and lethal combat. You should almost never pick a fight, especially with those who have guns, because you'll most likely lose, and that is fantastic. Listen, I love mechanically deep stealth games more than I love Nutella-coated Oreos, and even I'll admit that simply making death permanent takes this 2D line-of-sight based stealth experience with all of its close shaves and desperate escapes to levels of immersion most other games could only dream of. Working in conjunction with the harsh gameplay is a humble yet effective presentation. The muted colors and decrepit environments lend the game a fittingly depressive atmosphere. Then there's the great music, which ranges from beautifully understated in the day to grandiose and suspenseful at night. To the frantic battle music when caught. No. And on top of being a really engaging action strategy game, it actually does a really good job of pulling at your heartstrings and even delivering a decently effective anti-war message. When a character dies, it's really a blow because you've come to rely on their special ability, you've been getting their backstory snippet by snippet over time, you've invested all of this time and energy into keeping them alive. I always feel terrible and responsible when they die. And talking about responsibility, how about when you're solo on on supplies that you steal from a non-profit hospital or rob an elderly couple. This game will make you feel terrible about your choice, what with the empathy-inducing pleas from the old man. I mean, Jesus! But the beauty of this is that you can completely ignore the elderly couple if you so choose. In fact, you probably will if you don't become too desperate. So if you rob them, it is all your fault, and you should feel terrible, and you do. What works so well with this game is that its messages come out through mechanics, basically unscripted scenarios, and player choice. The player creates his own narrative and comes to his own conclusions about it. I'd personally love for more games to deliver messages through the player's own interaction rather than hear another group of Hollywood rejects tell their grand epic tales in between gameplay, which was obviously an afterthought. And if you don't care about that sort of thing, or if you're just not buying the idea that this is a particularly emotional game, that's fine too. Here's the thing, this game can more than stand on its own even without its messages and themes, because it's also a really engaging game. Whether you look at this title as an artistic denouncement of the horrors of war, or as a tightly designed survival game, this War of Mine is pretty great and I highly recommend it.